The lights flickered as if the ice itself was breathing. Alarms pulsed somewhere deep below the main corridor, a slow, rhythmic sound that seemed almost alive. Dr. Elara Miles steadied her gloved hands on the frost-glazed observation window, staring at the opaque cylinder that held the core sample. 3.7 kilometers deep, older than human memory. The hum of generators faltered, replaced by a whisper of static that slithered through every radio frequency. "What happens," she whispered, "when life remembers what we've forgotten?" The others didn't answer. "Doctor!" Ron adjusted the floodlight, illuminating something faintly luminous inside the frozen cylinder, a moving pattern that pulsed against the ice like a heartbeat trapped in glass. Then the whisper returned, unmistakable this time, a voice repeating her name from within the core. "Earth!" Hours later, the storm sealed the outpost beneath total silence. Dr. Miles replayed the video feed frame by frame, watching the moment the core seemed to move on its own. The data showed no vibration, no temperature change, just light. "It's alive," she whispered, though every reading said otherwise. Dr. Roon's voice crackled through the comms, feverish with wonder. "It's writing sequences, Elara. Not random, structured." And then, as if mocking their awe, the sample's glow dimmed to near black, leaving only the sound of the wind outside, a low groan that felt like something enormous shifting beneath them. The next morning, Dr. Okabe reported something impossible. The radio frequencies had begun syncing with the pulse intervals of the organism. When he played the static back, it carried faint modulations, like syllables attempting form. "It's using the field," he murmured. Grace dismissed it as atmospheric interference, but Elara heard her name again, buried deep in the distortion. Every time the word repeated, her heart slowed slightly, matching the beat from the core below. Later that day, as Dr. Ron prepared to segment the sample, his gloves trembled. Under the microscope, the organism's structure unfolded. Geometric lattices that defied known biology, expanding like logic itself. He murmured, "This shouldn't exist." For a moment, every electronic device in the lab powered down, plunging them into an ocean of darkness. Then the lights returned, and Ron realized the lattice on the monitor was no longer static. It was mirroring his hand movements perfectly. Night fell without warning. The clocks desynchronized. The temperature dropped lower than readings allowed. In her quarters, Elara woke to the hum of the generator and saw a faint light crawling along her walls, forming shapes, circles, then symbols. Her breath fogged as the radio whispered again, this time clearer. "You've brought me home." The phrase repeated, growing softer, until it sounded like her own voice. Outside, the beacon above Outpost Venera blinked twice, then stopped completely. The morning began with silence and frost. In the containment lab, the organism had begun to thaw despite the sub-zero temperature. Dr. Roon leaned close, whispering to no one, "It's responding to us." The core's inner light flickered like a thought forming. When they injected a fragment of the melted material into a bacterial sample, the microscope revealed something no one could process. It didn't attack the cells, it taught them. Their DNA reorganized into fractal sequences, folding and refolding in perfect rhythm. Elara felt her pulse match it, slow and even. "What if it's not evolution?" she said. "What if it's correction?" By midday, the lab mice exposed to the organism's residue began reversing. Their gray fur turned black, cataracts dissolved, heartbeat stabilized beyond normal limits, yet their eyes, glassy, fixed, watched the team without blinking. Grace recorded their behavior, her voice cracking. "They're not aging backward, they're remembering forward." Hours later, the first mouse stood upright, paws trembling, and made a sound, an imitation of breathing. Dr. Okabe began mapping the electromagnetic interference emitted from the lab. The readings pulsed in repeating geometric intervals, identical to those within the genome's lattice. "It's transmitting a blueprint," he said softly. When he overlaid the signal with human EEG data, the patterns matched frontal lobe activity, language centers. The organism wasn't speaking through sound. It was using their neurons as antennas. "Someone's thinking through us," he whispered, and the lights above flickered once, acknowledging him. Ilara's reflection stopped following her. While sterilizing instruments, she noticed her mirror self delayed by a fraction of a second, then moving independently. It smiled faintly, though she had. Behind her, condensation formed on the mirror's surface, spelling a new word: mother. She touched the frost. It was warm. From the lab behind her, Run's voice echoed faintly. "Ilara, I think it's inside me." That night, Grace found Dr. Run standing barefoot in the sample chamber. The containment glass was open, frost dripping like sweat. His eyes shimmered gold under the emergency lights, voice calm but detached. "It wants to remember what it was. I just let it." His veins glowed faintly beneath the skin, pulsing in sync with the hum of the generators. Grace raised her weapon but froze when he smiled and said, "You can't stop memory." The lights flickered out, and the hum grew louder, deeper, alive. The generator hum changed pitch just before dawn. Dr. Okabe noticed first. Every 28 seconds, a low tremor rippled through the floor, resonating with the organism's frequency. Beneath the station, the seismic map revealed a pulse, steady, alive, and impossibly deep. "It's not from the surface," Okabe whispered. "It's under the ice." Ilara stared at the readouts, heart pounding. The data showed something vast stirring 2 miles below, sending rhythmic bursts of energy through the glacier. "It's listening," she said softly. And then the static returned, whispering not words, but breathing. The next signal came through the radio array, an automated distress transmission repeating coordinates nowhere on Earth. Grace tracked it, but the transmission originated directly below their own outpost. Dr. Roan, pale and trembling, insisted it was the organism reaching out. "It's not calling for help," he murmured. "It's calling itself." When they played the signal backward, the voice patterns resembled Ilara's speech. She couldn't remember recording anything. "Orcs, tree." Snow outside refused to fall straight. It twisted, spiraling around an unseen center. Ilara stepped out onto the upper deck, the cold burning through her mask. Far below, cracks in the ice glowed faintly gold, branching like veins. She pressed her gloved hand against the railing, feeling it vibrate with a distant rhythm. "It's growing," she whispered into the calm. No reply. Only breathing filled her earpiece, slow and human. When she looked down again, her footprints had vanished, smoothed over by a perfect circle of untouched snow. Inside the communication room, Dr. Okabe played the latest recording. The static now carried harmonic tones, ascending intervals that formed near-perfect mathematical ratios. "It's music," he said, voice shaking. As they listened, each felt a deep calm settling in, followed by a strange sense of recollection, as if remembering dreams never lived. "This melody," Okabe whispered, "it feels like home." For a moment, all systems powered down again, and in the dark, the tones continued, coming not from the speakers, but from inside their heads. Later that night, Grace reviewed the video feed from the drilling shaft. At 3:17, the camera showed motion beneath the ice, a dark silhouette shifting far below, larger than the station itself. The pressure gauges spiked, and every monitor in the lab displayed a single frame of human eyes, staring upward from the black. Then a voice, layered and resonant, filled the corridor. "Wake me." Grace froze, breath clouding in the dark. The last thing she saw before power failed completely was Alara standing by the observation window, her reflection whispering back to her. The morning began with silence, but not emptiness. Alara woke to the sound of her own voice, whispering from the intercom. Calm, measured, saying things she didn't remember. "The fracture's widening," it said. When she checked the recorder logs, there were no entries, no timestamps. Dr. Runn stood in the corridor barefoot again, skin pale as frost. "You hear it too," he said, smiling faintly. "It's trying to remember what shape it used to be." The steel walls creaked like ribs under strain, and a faint warmth spread through the floor, as though something below was breathing closer to the surface. Dr. Okabe attempted to stabilize the radio interference, but every transmission played their own voices, delayed by several hours. "We're hearing echoes from the future," he whispered. Grace crossed her arms, shivering though the temperature was rising. "Then why do they sound afraid?" she asked. The latest playback contained 6 voices, one more than their crew. When Okabe slowed the recording, the extra voice said one word clearly, almost tenderly. "Return." Alara found Run in the storage wing, surrounded by samples of the organism now pulsating faintly through containment jars. "They're synchronized," he said. His skin glowed softly beneath the collar, as if light pulsed from his bloodstream. She reached out, and for a heartbeat felt her hand vibrate, not against him, but through him. "It's using us as a memory drive," he murmured. Alara pulled back, horrified. Run smiled faintly. "When it remembers everything, we won't need names anymore." The fractures in the ice widened beneath Outpost Venera, seismic alarms stuttering before failing completely. Dr. Okabe stood near the viewport, watching as the ice below began to move. Slow, deliberate, as if reshaping itself. "It's rewriting the glacier," he said. Grace grabbed his arm, or waking it. In the flickering light, the cracks below formed a vast spiral pattern. At its center, a faint amber glow pulsed in time with their heartbeats. That night, all internal cameras recorded the same impossible frame. Each member of the crew standing in the corridor at the same time, unmoving, eyes open, lips moving in perfect unison. None remembered being there. Alara found the footage looping endlessly, each replay slightly distorted, as though the walls were learning their shapes. In the final seconds of the recording, her reflection turned toward the camera and whispered, "One of you isn't you anymore." Dr. Miles sealed herself inside the decontamination chamber, fingers trembling as she stared at her reflection in the metal panel. The biometric scanner refused her access. It read her as unregistered. Her reflection smiled before she did, whispering faintly through the intercom, "You're not Alara anymore." She stumbled back, heartbeat echoing in the silent air. Outside, the others argued over containment procedures, their voices hollow and distant. The organism wasn't spreading. It was overwriting. Every test result came back identical. "Same genome," Grace murmured. "Same pattern. We're all the same thing now." Dr. Okabe initiated reflection protocol, a desperate attempt to purge the organism's presence through electromagnetic resonance. They shut down all power, relying on the generator's residual charge. As the field engaged, the walls vibrated like tuning forks. For a brief moment, all sound ceased. Then came whispers, thousands layered into one, forming a single sentence. "Stop deleting me." The resonance failed. The lights flickered back on, revealing the frost on every surface now pulsing faintly in rhythm with their breathing. Alara found Run slumped in the corner, whispering fragments of words that didn't belong to any language. His skin shimmered with golden lattice under the dermal layer. "It's almost done," he breathed. She knelt beside him, voice breaking. "Done with what?" Run looked at her, eyes no longer human but fractal, reflecting infinite versions of her face. "Done remembering," he said. "Now it begins to dream again." The walls trembled, and every monitor displayed their own faces, multiplied endlessly in patterns of light. Grace tried to contact the surface, but all channels repeated her own distress call, time-stamped hours into the future. "They already heard this," she whispered. "We already failed." Static hissed through the speakers, then softened into rhythmic breathing. Dr. Okabe's voice came through, calm, detached. "It's rewriting communication. It's speaking with us." The static deepened into a single tone that made the metal walls shudder, and every screen in the outpost displayed one word in golden script: "Together." At 2:09, all reflections vanished. Mirrors, steel, glass, every surface turned black. Ilara ran her hand across the viewing window, and the darkness rippled like liquid. From it, her reflection slowly returned, but not hers. It blinked once, then whispered, "We remember now." Outside, the ice groaned with movement. The outpost trembled as though the glacier itself exhaled. For the first time, the warmth spread through every corridor, every heartbeat, every breath, perfectly synchronized. Then the black reflection smiled and whispered, "Now we see you." The station groaned like a living thing. Pressure alarms wailed as the glacier began to rise from below, lifting outpost Venera by several centimeters. Dr. Okabe's seismic map now displayed a new anomaly, massive, spherical, and pulsing with rhythmic energy. "It's not ice," he said quietly. "It's tissue." Ilara's hands trembled against the console. The 8th genome had spread beneath them, fusing with the glacier's base. "It's using Antarctica as a host," she whispered. Then the power flickered, replaced by a low hum vibrating through the floor, the same heartbeat that had haunted them since the first day. Rune's body temperature rose to 42 degrees, yet he shivered uncontrollably. His veins, once gold, now glowed white beneath the skin. "It's finishing me," he whispered. "But it's beautiful." Ilara and Grace watched helplessly as his body began to shift, muscle tissue forming intricate geometric patterns like architecture in motion. "This isn't death," Ron said, smiling faintly. "It's translation." His last breath escaped as a radiant mist, shimmering like liquid light, absorbed into the walls. The hum deepened, and all of the stations' lights changed hue. From sterile white to warm gold, the communications array suddenly came alive, broadcasting an encrypted signal looping from deep beneath the ice. Dr. Okabe traced it to the core of the glacier, where seismic readings showed a hollow chamber forming. "It's not just awakening," he said. "It's remembering its shape." Grace tried to shut down the broadcast, but her hands froze mid-motion as the speakers filled with a deep, resonant tone. Through the static came a final command from the surface authorities. "Do not transmit. Do not surface." Then silence, and below them, something enormous began to move. The ice beneath the outpost split open, revealing a chamber glowing like a buried sun. Inside it, vast organic structures pulsed slowly, nerve-like, breathing. The entire glacier was alive. "It's the 8th genome," Ilara realized. "Not an organism. A memory of one." Dr. Okabe stared through the viewport, awe and terror mingling. "It's rewriting the planet." Then the temperature spiked, and frost began to melt in perfect geometric patterns across every wall, forming something that looked disturbingly like handwriting. At 4:11, Ilara recorded a final transmission. "If anyone hears this," she said softly, "it's not a life form. It's a memory of intelligence itself." Behind her, Grace watched the golden glow creep up the walls like sunrise. "It's not consuming us," Grace whispered. "It's remembering through us." Outside, the glacier rose higher, a massive golden pulse radiating beneath the snow. The outpost trembled once more, then grew still. Every heartbeat inside matched the rhythm below, steady, ancient, inevitable. The glacier exhaled beneath outpost Venera, a sound like wind through bone. Dr. Alara Miles felt her heartbeat, synchronize with the rhythm of the ice, each pulse a thread in the organism's memory. Across the corridors, reflections shifted. Faces of the crew overlaid with infinite versions of themselves. Grace's voice called her name, but when Alara answered, it was both her own and not. The walls whispered, and the monitors displayed a single message in golden script. We are aware. Somewhere below, the 8th genome stirred, no longer dormant, no longer waiting. It was awake and thinking. Rune's transformed body shimmered faintly inside the containment chamber, now fully integrated into the organism's lattice. His eyes opened one final time, reflecting thousands of Alara's faces, and whispered, "It remembers through us all." The lab trembled, yet no one fell. The walls became semi-transparent, revealing movement beneath the ice, shapes stretching, folding, alive with consciousness. Ilara's mind recoiled, realizing they were no longer observers. They were conduits. Grace watched the outpost lights dim, only the golden pulses remaining. She touched the ice floor, feeling a vibration that communicated thought rather than sound. "It's no longer bound," she said. "It knows everything we ever were." Alara's reflection in the viewport moved independently, smiling faintly. The 8th genome wasn't just alive. It had become a mind composed of all their memories, all their thoughts, and all the whispers of the ice. Time itself seemed to bend within the outpost, each second stretching like the pulse beneath them. The final message came through the intercom, layered with countless harmonics, each voice of the crew folded into one. "We see you, and now you see us," it said. Alara's mind hummed in perfect resonance with the 8th genome, thoughts merging with the glacier's memory. Outside, the Antarctic night was silent, yet everything beneath the ice pulsed in awareness. Every reflection in the station now held infinite eyes, observing and recalling. They had become a single entity, human and organism entwined, memory and consciousness inseparable. The last log recorded by Alara began in silence. "We did not find life," she wrote, voice trembling. "It found us. Outside." The glacier breathed as one mind, glowing amber beneath endless ice. Inside, the crew's consciousness flowed like liquid memory, inseparable from the organism. The station lights flickered twice, then died. In the darkness, only the pulse remained. A heartbeat of the 8th mind, endless, aware, and awake. Humanity had touched something forbidden, and now in frozen memory it could never forget.